Wrath of Lich King is finally right around the corner, so I think it's perfect timing to make another keybind and macro video for you guys. Everyone loved the TBC one, and Wrath of Lich King definitely introduces a lot of new changes, so let's jump in. First, in Wrath of Lich King, we use Shadow Dance. Now, for me personally, with Shadow Dance, I now make my combat bar a mixture, so it's a hybrid of my normal combat abilities and my stealth. So just based off the naked eye, you see 3 with cheap shot. Like Shobek, you can't even use cheap shot on 3, just normally attacking. Like, why would you have it on 3? I don't want my mind to think. When I'm in Shadow Dance and when I'm out of Shadow Dance and when I'm in stealth, I just want a consistent bar. I want my brain to just be linear. I do not want anything like, okay, you know, 2's my backstab. When I'm in Shadow Dance, my 4 is backstab and my 2 is cheap shot. Like, no. Keep it consistent, guys, because it's going to allow you when you're in the moment and like you're under pressure, you create that, like, you know, you get the person's trinket and you need to Shadow Dance and you need to go. This is your DPS. Like you're caught up in that moment. You just want your brain to be like, I know what to press. You don't want to have to think about anything. You don't want too many things changed. So I highly recommend just creating a linear bar that's entirely the same. Now, there are a few changes, and we'll go over those right now, just because Shadow Dance is a really, really big ability in Wrath of Lich King, and it has a massive impact on the Keybindings. So first, the only changes that do happen when I'm out of stealth and not in Shadow Dance to when I'm in stealth and Shadow Dance is my Shiv and my premeditation. The reason being is I have not found a moment where I've not found a moment where I needed to Shiv while in Shadow Dance. I'm either shadow stepping to the person, I either have shadow step speed boost, or I'm already locking them down. Like I'm already on top of them and I don't need that. Or they have waylay, which in the talent tree is a 50% damage reduction. I don't have it right now because I'm testing out a new spec. We'll be making that in another video. But for now, let's just talk about the keybinds. So that is the only thing I've changed. And in TBC, this was actually my old keybinds where Shiv, my crippling Shiv, was still 1. And then in 1, it was still premeditation. So I never felt the real need or desire to really shift that around because it's just not there. And I love having pre-med on 1 because it allows me to use my left finger and then immediately being able to use my pointer finger. So I have my index and then my pointer finger being able to do what if I'm, you know, vanishing with a dot on me and I need to be super snappy, I can just press 1, 3 at the same time, get it off in between a dot, or 1 and 5, get it off between a dot. I don't have to like use 2 pointers, like pointer for 2 and then pointer for 3 or pointer for 3 and pointer for 4. That downtime literally could register in the system that the dot ticks on you and it can break it. So I love having pre-med and whatever combination ability that I'm going to be lining that up with to be on a separate finger to just be able to like kind of dance like you're playing the piano, right? So that is one of the only things I changed. And then another one is expose armor and Garrote. I had to move my expose armor ability and I ended up choosing to have it on my Garrote bind where if I'm Shadow Dance or if I'm in stealth, I'll have Garrote. So that's my 5. I haven't found a moment where I'm using expose armor in a dance or like I need to vanish and miraculously open up with expose armor. I haven't found it. So it was a great substitution because with Wrath, you're getting introduced with a lot of new keybinds and there are a lot of new important abilities that take priority of pretty, you know, high priority keybinds. So I was really struggling on like, you know, hey, what should I do? And I found this to be the perfect solution because a lot of the times when you are using expose armor, it's kind of like a setup anyways. Like you have additional combo points and maybe your dance is coming up in like 15 or 10 seconds and you're at 5 combo points. Doesn't really make sense to eviscerate. Like just do the expose armor and then pull the energy, dances up. Now you're dancing with expose armor. So it's really nice. I would try to look for a keybind that fits with you where you can have exposed armor kind of be in that shadow on your dance bar like it is with my Garrote because it works fucking great. The next keybind that I want to talk about is the in combat, out of stealth, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The bottom bar, these are like my generic attacking, I love, and I still keep my ability, my damage ability on 2. This allows me to be agile. It uses my middle finger, so then I can use any sort of strafing that I want. I can strafe left or right while spamming. I can stand on my target. Or if I need to use an ability, for example, a lot of times you are going to be going up against Shadow Priests. They're very, very prominent in the ladder. And you're now like, okay, what do you mean by this? Well, they're going to have an instant stun that you have to cloak. So a lot of the times when you're dancing, you need to press ambush and then press cloak. Well, if I press 2, I can literally just press my little squiggly next to 1, Astra, I think it's called, and I'm able to cloak their stun. And I do it all the time, and there's Shadow Priests everywhere. So even Shadow Fury from Warlocks, because you're going to be seeing a lot of Warlocks in the ladder too. So that's, you don't have to exactly copy my cloak. I love it there. I highly recommend it. But having at least the option where I don't have to do too much moving of my fingers and I can combo. It's kind of like combo points for keybinds, right? You want to keybind your rogue as almost a way where every ability is like a building block on like the next ability, and everything can chain together. And as long as everything is chaining and flowing really well, then you have a fluid keybind setup, which allows you to like not get your hands chopped up or tripped up, and you can kind of just flow with the character, because rogues are very fast paced. Their energy is constantly regenerating, and with Wrath of Lich King, it's now constantly regenerating. So you're able to be even that much more like output and just on top of the ability. It's like driving a really fast car, and you can truly, with good keybinds, you can truly excel and like push it to its limits. So just wanted to kind of give that analogy out there to help you guys while you're keybinding, and taking bits and pieces from my keybinds to help you better understand, like, that's the foundational rule. You want things to build upon each other and play off of one another. And if you have a keybind like that, you're really looking good. So another keybind that I changed that was really, really massive, and I actually changed this keybind around multiple times, was preparation. This thing took me forever to figure out and where I wanted to have it. And ultimately, I chose C. Now, the reason why I chose C was because a lot of the times you have to use prep incredibly fast, especially in Season 5 and Season 6. If you guys want to watch these games and what I mean, make sure to go follow on Twitch at twitch.tv/Showback and subscribe to the channel, where you can see more uploads of gameplay and whatnot. And we always stream every day over there. So if you want to see what I mean about having the prep on C, check me out. But seriously, having it on C allows me to be super agile. Going back to what I was saying about the flowing and everything is a kind of a combo point with keybinds. When I press Vanish, my pointer finger is on R. Naturally, when I reach over to R, my thumb is going to rest on the keyboard on C. So what I can do a lot of the times is I'm going to be vanishing, and then I can press prep. Or say, for example, I press Vanish with my pointer finger. My finger's already on shift. What's my shift for? That's sprint. How many times are you Vanish sprinting? All the time, literally all the time. So what I do is I have my sprint on shift 4, which is another ability, by the way, I did change. My old sprint, which has been sprint for like, I want to say 10, maybe 11 years, was V. And I now changed it to shift 4 because a lot of times you're running away from DKs, you're running away from paladins. Like, dude, sprint Vanish or Vanish sprint, very, very important. And so it allows me to be super quick, where yes, I'm using both with my pointer finger, but pointer finger is the fastest. And it's one of those things where, because they're so close and they're in conjunction, I'm not doing too much. I'm not reaching really anywhere. And it allows for like a very, very smooth transition to just pop the Vanish sprint or the sprint Vanish. And then circling back with preparation, because prep is on C, I can now press C to re-pop all of my cooldowns. And that allows me to, if I need so, to do another Vanish or to do the sprint. And so it really allows me to be super comfortable and not have to like really, move my hand too much, and be super responsive, making sure I'm ahead of the global. You want to make sure that your keybinds put you ahead of the global. So when it is up, you are doing the ability, because every single time you are behind on the global, you're missing out on that global, and you're getting behind on like what your setup could have been. So you want to make sure that your keybinds are allowing you to be ahead of the global and allowing you to be on point. So once it's up, you're already pressing the ability and you're ready for the next one. So sprint was another one that I changed. And with sprint, I shifted it to my old bind V, which is now my sap. And so my sap is V, and then focus sap is shift V. And I really, really like this because this allows me to, I'm old fashioned, okay? I like to tab target. So for me, if I want to tab target, I just have to press tab and then my V is like right there, which is super nice if I just want to tab sap, because my hand's pretty much resting. Like I'm literally not even moving and I'm able to do that. And then obviously I have to pull down my pinky because I use tab with my pinky. Sometimes, actually, no, I use tab with my index finger, and then I just have to push the shift with my pinky, and that allows me to do a tab vanish sap. So again, my hands aren't even like moving. And then from there, for like literally using my index, then pressing shift V. So now I'm shift sapped. Now I just go back up, press tab, and then I use my index for pre-med cheap shot. And then my thumb is now pressing X for shadow dance. And I'm like, dude, my hand's chilling. Like, boys, my hand is literally chilling. It's so simple and everything just flows. It's chef's kiss. So moving forward down the line, X, I would say the next one is, I have skipped over kidney shot because I've had kidney shot for literally ever. And I just think 4 is such a great keybind to have for any sort of like connective. You're kind of reaching out, but you're also sprawling out your hands. So it allows you to use any sort of ability that you do want. Like you're reaching up, your index, pointer finger are resting on 1, 2, kind of more so naturally. And that kind of just goes hand in hand with what my abilities are, which is 2 for ambush. And that's why I have it there. I actually see a lot of people with 4 on kidney shot. It's been something that I've had since I was literally a kid. And I don't think I would ever change that. Next one is Shadow Dance. Shadow Dance on X. Why is it on X? Why isn't it on anything else? Truth be told, I have it on X because it allows me to be really quick. I can vanish and I can use it together. For example, if I need to vanish something, then Shadow Dance, it just allows my thumb to use the ability while allowing my other fingers to actually use other abilities. And it's just kind of that conjunctionness that has allowed me to really enjoy X. I have tried other keybinds, but for me, this just allows me to like kind of prep my go and my dance. So I press X with my thumb, and then my hands are right on 1, right on 3, and right on 2, and I'm ready to DPS. I don't have to press like, I don't know, T for Shadow Dance, and then I have to press, 3, and then it seems like my hand's up there and like everything's up there. I'd rather have, in my mind, Shadow Dance is at the bottom, it initiates, my damage is at the top, so it kind of like separates it and allows me to kind of more easily process. So that's why I chose X, and I truly love it. I recommend you guys to try it out and let me know how you guys like it. The next keybind I had to move is Evasion. So my old Evasion was C, so Sprint was V, and Evasion was C. Now this new one is G, and I will be honest with you, Evasion's taking a hit, boys. I gotta say Evasion is taking a hit. I don't like this keybind. I truly don't, but I'm telling you right now, it is the best keybind, I think, for me. If I moved anything around, I just wouldn't like it. And I have a lot of things that have flown. So this is just kind of one of those keybinds where it had to take the bite. And my old G was Deadly Throw, but Deadly Throw doesn't interrupt anymore. So what I did is I shifted the Deadly Throw to Shift G and then Evasion as G. Now you can still press G pretty fast. G was my fear on Warrior and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still snappy with it, but as me personally, I don't necessarily like it. And this is the only bind that I currently have that I'm not in love with. Every other bind I absolutely love. This is the only one, and I had to take the bite because, like I said earlier, Wrath really introduces a lot of new keybinds, and it just was one of them that had to tank it. So G is on Evasion, and then Shift G is for Deadly Throw. Shift R is still the same as Vanish. If you guys watch my TBC video, the reason why I have that is R is my Vanish, and then Shift R, I have like a macro that prevents you from out of stealthing and stuff like that. So it just allows me to just keep stealth and Vanish all in kind of like one simple place. I don't have to like look elsewhere to go Vanish or Stealth, and then another keybind. It's just all centralized. And I have Vanish on top as normal R because you want to be more snappy. You don't want to have anything, like you never really want to have shift, a shift keybind for Vanish. You want to have Vanish on a single press keybind because that will allow you to be super fast, responsive, and it will make you feel a lot better, especially when you want to Vanish coils and any of the flashy stuff like blinds, cheap shots, and stuff like that. Or matching rogues vanishes. It's very, very important to have it on a very responsive keybind. So I love R. I think R is honestly probably the most dominant, R or E, but I play the game with QWE, so E isn't the dominant for me. I think the number one slot would be R, and just rogues really revolve around Vanish. So I used R for my Vanish, and it's been that for a very, very long time. Circling back over to the top half of my keybinds, we went over Cloak of Shadows and why I have it there in conjunction with Shadow Dancing, with the Shadow Priest stuns. It's also another thing where it's kind of off to the left, but I know about it and I'm aware. It's like one of my few abilities that's super far off to the left because my shift 1, 2, 3 are my focus macros, not to get too ahead, but my shift 1, 2, 3 is my pre-med Shadow Step cheap shot. So this is great for peeling off rogues and not allowing them to get any globals. So what I do is I have Cloak, and then anything, my next 1, 2, 3 are kind of like damage abilities, and then the other ones are just openers. So Cloak kind of stands alone in my mind. So like it really is just easy for me to remember it because it's just off and to the left. And I always know when I'm in the moment and I need to like see if Cloak is up, it's always the bottom farthest left ability. And it's always on the edge, it's always on the rim, and I always know to just look there. And it's been great. I seriously have loved it. And I've jumped around on a few keybinds, and I ultimately landed on this one, and I highly recommend it to give it a try. It's been a great one, and you're never going to fat finger it too, which is really nice. And especially when healers like to control your cloak, you're not going to be a Mongo monkey where you're like, oh, damn, bro, I accidentally cloaked. Because it is there, it's next to the one, and you have to be pretty particular when you click it because you have to extend your ring finger out in a specific way where for some reason, psychologically, it feels like you're knowing that you're pressing it, but it's still also there enough where you can be super responsive. I don't want to go too deep in it. Maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't, but for me, that's how it is, and I really enjoy it, so I recommend that for sure. Next one is Y. So Shift G was my throw in TBC, and then G was my deadly. We've now switched that from Shift G to deadly throw, and now Y is going to be my throw. Now, the reason why I did this is because you still want throw. You still want throw to be there, but you don't necessarily need throw to be on like some mega Chad cool or keybind just because it's not really needed. But you still want to have it in your arsenal and you still want to have it binded. And I think Y is a phenomenal keybind where it's still off out, but it's not too crazy. And you're still able to use it in specific moments where you're like, shit, man, I need to go and press Shift G for my deadly throw. Oh, man, I used deadly throw, but I still have range. Well, guess what? I'm already reaching out for Shift G. So my finger's already extending outwards. Now all I have to do is let go Shift and then move my finger up just one keybind because Y is right there. So it's like boom, boom. So I do my Shift deadly throw and then I hit my Y and I'm spamming it. All right, cool. I'm out the Nova. Let's ball. I'm ready to go. So it allows me to need it when I need it without it taking up a Giga Chad keybind. The next thing is Shift C next to Y. And you're probably like, Shevik, why do you have a Shift C? The reason why I have prep on Shift C as well is because in the heat of the moment, sometimes I keep my finger on Shift. So this is more so a safety precaution or a measure when I want to vanish, prep, or sprint. So for example, I need to vanish, but my sprint's already down because I used it in the beginning of the game, right? So I vanish and I prep, but I want to press my sprint again. Well, if I hold Shift, right, I can still press prep. So just in case if I make any sort of like, you know, press or execution error with my keybinds, I'm still getting it off where I can press Shift C and I can press Shift 4 and I used my prep and I've used my sprint and everything's good. So the Shift C is really more so of a safety precaution for me. And I don't ever recommend putting a keybind behind prep just because you never want to fat finger prep. Like you just don't. And this is me personally. I just don't trust myself, nor would I want to lose a game because I'm like, oh man, dude, just fat fingered prep, bro. Sick. It's like prep is prep and it's alone. It's a very important keybind. It plays a huge impact in the role of the game. So I have it solely locked. Nothing goes behind it. Same thing with Vanish. Nothing goes behind Vanish other than stealth, but I can't even use that in combat. It's not going to proc anything. It's not going to take me out of anything. So it's like Vanish is alone and prep is alone 100% on the keybind. So that's how I set it up, just to also prevent me from making any mistakes and also allowing me to still execute the play that I want to within regards to my keybinds. And that's why I have it on the shift. Next question. The next keybind is D, which is my trinket. This has always been my trinket. Right now I'm human, so every man for himself is what I'm rocking. But D has been a great keybind for me because it allows me to be unbelievably snappy because I play with QWE. So it allows me to do QR. I know it's 2 pointer fingers, but I'm moving upwards. And how it works is I press D for trinket. Then I move my pointer finger up for R. There's Vanish. My index finger is already on pre-med. And then my finger just moves up for cheap shot. And then I'm already using my middle for ambush. And so it's a super easy flow where it just moves up. And because I move up, my other fingers fall into place on where they need to be. And it allows for a very fluid trinket Vanish, reset up go, which is a very, very common execution that you do as a rogue. You trinket, you Vanish, you pre-med, and you cheap shot. Or you use Gyro. So it allows for a very fluid just motion for me and my keybinds. And I've really, really enjoyed it. I haven't changed my trinket on D in a very long time. Still the same from TBC. The next ability is Dismantle. Now with Dismantle, this was my old prep bond. I used to do R for Vanish and then T for prep. I chose T for Dismantle because a lot of times you need to dismantle in this game. Whether it's rogues, whether it's hunters, whether it's warriors, you need to have it on something snappy. And T is snappy. And it's great because you can use it with Shift T for your focus dismantle, which is over here on my right side, which I use as well. And this has allowed me to move my prep down and then replace it with a very high value ability for very high value moments where like a warrior blade storms, I need to get that thing dismantled before the global, bro, before one tick of damage. That thing needs to get done. I need it off. Or at the very last second of the stun, I need to remember, oh shit, Showback, we got to dismantle so we can get the warrior's wall so he doesn't shield wall. So I love that. And also too, when you're doing damage, I'm using my index finger and then I can just use my pointer finger to press the T for the dismantle. And it's just really, really nice. So highly recommend the T for dismantle. We've already spoke about Vanish and the next one is blind. So I have D for trinket, R for Vanish, and F for blind. These are, I would say, are definitely a part of the core abilities for rogue. And I have them all together on my pointer finger and probably the most highest valued keybinds because you use them all together. Whether I'm trinketing and I'm blinding and I bait the person's trinket with then I Vanish and then I can go into my dance, which is I Vanish pre-med cheap shot and then I use my thumb for dance and then I'm already pumping with my index. So I have those three in a way where it allows me to be incredibly aggressive. And the reason why I chose D for trinket, F for blind, and R for Vanish and no other order is because my damage abilities are at the top. So all my damage abilities are 1 through 4. I don't want my hand to go down, then up. I just want my hand to go from where it starts to up. So when it starts is trinket, which is D. Then it goes lateral to F. Then it works its way up to R. And then it works its way up again to 3. So I don't want to go from like down then up because that distance is too much. Nor do I want it to go flip-flop where I'm going from up, down into middle. I just want it to be simple, right? Simple, lateral, if possible, which I have succeeded with using F. So D, F, R, 2, 3. So everything just works its way up. And then that allows me to be responsive with what? One row down. What's that? T, right? What's my shift already sitting there? Sprint. Where's my cloak? Asterisk or a little squiggy line. So it allows me to just go up and then everything is there for me. All my tools and kits are right there. I don't need to go itch it every way, craziness. It just allows me super fluid. Absolutely love it. Okay. Lave la vista. I'm telling you, boys. I wouldn't lie to you. All right. Next keybind we're going to talk about is Eviscerate. So Eviscerate had to get changed, and this took a minute to kind of get used to, and it also took a minute to figure out what I wanted to do, because with Shadow Dance, we had to move things around. Now, I still chose to have one as Shiv because, like I said, I needed something similar to Expose Armor, where when I'm in my Shadow Dance, it is the Shadow Dance goes and like the go damage, and when I'm out of combat, I can still use this utility, but I never want to use the utility while in these dance goes. So Shiv and Expose Armor became my 1 and 5. That means Eviscerate needs to be moved elsewhere because I need to use Eviscerate in my Shadow Dance. So how I needed to figure out the bind, and it was perfect for me because I play with QWE, I can just drop my hand down. What's great about it is because when I use my Shadow Dance rotation, you use your pre-med cheap shot, the first global is Eviscerate. So my 1 is here, and then my 3 is here, and then I just lower my finger down. This finger now gets extended, and then boom, I press my 2. So when I go from pre-med cheap shot, Shadow Dance, Eviscerate, ambush, ambush, kidney shot. So it allows me to be super fluid without breaking any sort of like, craziness with my fingers, and allows me to execute my rotation where it makes it super simple. And it's also very particular when I want to Eviscerate because my hand is moving downwards and it's my index finger. And so I kind of like isolated, same way I've isolated Cloak of Shadows with my Eviscerate. Now the shift modifier is actually my Tricks of Trade. And I was also trying to figure out what I wanted to do with Tricks of Trade. And I honestly found Shift V was my old one, which I liked a lot. But my Shift A one it feels really, really good. Tricks of Trade is a very interesting ability where even I sometimes do forget to use it. I would say I'm around like 80% of the time I'm definitely using it on our goes and stuff. And Shift A just allows it to be very, very, very smooth. It was one of those things kind of like Evasion where I didn't know where I wanted to put it, but I definitely didn't want to put it on G. And I definitely didn't like Evasion on Shift A, nor did I like it on A, just because if I wanted to use it, it just didn't feel right to me. It just didn't feel right. So Eviscerate being there, and then the Shift A for Tricks of Trade, it's one of those binds that also is very particular when you press it. So when you start using it more and more, similar to Cloak of Shadows, you build a particular muscle memory for it. And when you do that, the more you do it, the stronger I feel like the connection is, more so than of the other ones. And it's interesting how it works out, but I definitely recommend using the Shift A for tricks because it's been great. I truly have loved it. So the next one we have is Fan of Knives, and you're probably like, well, that's B. Why not have like Tricks of Trade on B and then Shift A? Well, the reason why I have Fan of Knives on a pretty solid keybind is because a lot of times you're going to be in stealth, you get sapped, you're going to trinket Fan of Knives, and you're going to vanish. Now, I need to be able to do that super snappy because I want to Fan of Knives him out, and then I want to vanish. So that allows my thumb to do my Fan of Knives while I already have my finger cued on Vanish. So I can be faster than anyone, bro. Faster than anyone. Vanish, I can do it at the same time. And you can't beat that. You can't beat it. So if they don't have it like that, then I'm going to actually already by default have an advantage on them, and I'm going to be able to respawn faster than they are. If they don't have keybinds that are super fluid, I'm going to be faster than them. And because I'm going to be faster than them, I'm going to get the reverse opener or the reserve opener. So that's why I have Fan of Knives on my B, because it's incredible. Really, really like it. Have your Fan of Knives completely separate where you can cue your Vanish at the same time. So it's very important that you guys have that. The next one is something that I changed so many times, and this is super important. I haven't heard or seen anyone talk about this. Gouge is on my mouse, and I recommend Gouge to be on a keybind that is your thumb or on your mouse. And the reason being is when you play up against really good players and they know when your shadow step is up, what they're going to do is when you try to shadow step them, they're going to turn around. Really good players will turn around. So why you have it on your mouse is because you can sprint on top of them or shadow step, and you can strafe any direction. It's very, very important to be able to strafe in any direction because that will allow you to get the gouge off. If you have your gouge on like on E or 4 or something like that, and you can't strafe to the right and they strafe to the right and turn around, you are done, my guy. You are done. You're going to miss the gouge. It's not going to land and you got to go. It's horrible. Trust me. I used the gouge not on my thumb or on my mouse, and it was happening consistently. So now when I shadow step, which by the way, my shadow step kick, I have a mouse with 3 keybinds. If it focuses, the front one is my shadow step. My back one is my kick. So if I want to do any sort of shift modifier, it's all on my mouse. Boom, 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 super fast. And then if I want to gouge, I shift or I use my top button and then I go down to the bottom. So this is shadow step gouge and then shadow step kick. Unbelievable. And you use it all the time together. You will always use shadow step and gouge together all the time. Warrior Pally, shadow step gouge. Anything, like really, honestly, like anything. A lot of times you're going to do shadow step gouge. Like it's used all the time and they will turn around. So you want to make sure that you have them where it is fluid together and you can strafe in any direction. Doesn't have to be on your mouse, but I really recommend thumb or mouse. Really do. It's very important. So we just talked about the shadow step kick on the mouse. The next one is going to be slice and dice. I move this as a shift 5. So it's one of those things where you can just kind of queue up. And it's the kind of minimal utility abilities, right? 5 for expose armor, shift 5 for slice and dice. The reason why I have shift 5 on that is just because it used to be shift T for my PvE rogue. And I just had it on shift 5 and it's been great. I use it all the time. You use it a lot against Warrior Pally in the later seasons, but it's not something that's super important. And it's also still there where you can, remember to press it. So, and I have them kind of grouped up, right? I have the 5 for expose armor and then the 5 for slice and dice. The next ability we have is shift S because my S is actually backpedal. Lol, noob, keck W, I know. But shift S is going to be my feint. So this allows me to still get the backpedaling and facing, where if I need to face a warrior and still pursue someone, I can still do that. If I need to back up against a wall, make sure I'm just facing the warrior or whatever my opponent is to better increase the dodge chances. So I can still have that shift where if there's an intervene, I can still intervene something off and be able to continue the CC chain or without, interrupting or disrupting anything. So I have shift S as feint there because it's something that is snappy because you do need to be very snappy with shift feint. And it needs to be one of those utility things that very high skill moments, it needs to come out, but you're not going to be using it a lot. So it needs to be kind of kept somewhere secret, but also not forgotten. Kept somewhere secret, but not forgotten. The next keybind is shift S. That is the modifier for my blind. And then shift H, shift 9, that's giving me the kick. Distract, you use these a lot actually, because in Wrath, a lot of the players like to do the little against the wall thing, where they will stand like this against the wall and you won't be able to hit them. And what you'll use is you'll use distract to turn them like this, and then you'll open. And then you'll be able to get your full go, and they kind of it just negates their whole kind of trolling. So you want distract somewhere, but you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be, Fin and Knives, Trinket, distracting in stealth. You're not going to do that. And distract costs energy. So you're not really going to be going stupid with it, but you still want to have it where you can use it. So this is kind of a free reign, whatever your keybinds have been or whatever your last keybinds are. I would group this up. I'm like, all right, these are the last 4. I don't really know what to do. These are kind of the lesser keybinds that will take some work to actually get used to doing. We'll put it there and we'll make it work. It's kind of where that is. Shift 7 is again the mouse button for my gouge. And then moving up to shift 1, 2, 3. I have it there because it coincide with the arena 1, 2, 3 and allows me to be super fast and responsive while still having control of my character. I put these binds elsewhere sometimes, and I just didn't really like not having the full control of my character. And that's more so the general overview of all my keybinds. I want to be able to use my character limitlessly and have ultimate control while being able to use any keybind in the book at any given moment, being able to strafe in any sort of direction without ever having a moment where I'm like, damn, If it would have been there, I would have been able to do that. So I have it shift 1, 2, 3 there, and I've just truly loved it. It's a really great. Next one is my health stone as Z, and then shift Z is my healing. These are kind of like the outside heals. You know what I'm saying? I have Z prio because health stones are usually used in the heat of the moment. When you're using bandages, you're more so, you know, running behind a pillar, and you're kind of already premeditatingly thinking, oh shit, you know, I need a bandage. So I've had the shift Z there because health stone is a heal. Another thing that has changed, and these are the last bits of the keybinds, and then we will go into the macros and everything for you guys, are the Arena 1, 2, 3 focus. So what I do is I do shift wheel up, shift middle mouse press, and then shift wheel down. So up is for 1, middle mouse is for 2, and then shift wheel is for 3. I don't necessarily, I love everything. I don't actually like pressing. I feel like the pressing thing in the moment sometimes turns into a scroll, but I'm definitely new to this. So I'm not an Arena 1, 2, 3 type of guy. And it's definitely something really, really new that I'm trying and I'm trying to get better at, because it does allow you to be a lot more faster with things versus right clicking. Because in TBC, I really think you can get away with right clicking. But if you want to play at a level that Wrath really kind of drives, you're going to have to be way faster with changing stuff around. And it's very intense with sometimes micromanaging your focus targets. So I had to adjust and change the scroll wheel. The scroll wheel up and down, absolutely love. I just don't necessarily like the middle mouse. But hey, can't be perfect. The last one is Shifty, similar to the preparation. I use the Shifty as a modifier for my trinket. I don't put anything behind trinket, never have, never will. Again, one of those things, prep stands alone, trinket stands alone, vanish stands alone. And then my middle mouse button, which is to the left right here, that is going to be my Rupture. This allows me to very, very quickly put a Rupture up without having to move anything, without having to disrupt my hand in my DPS rotation when I'm using stealth or damage. So it's been really, really nice. And then the same thing for here, the stealth bar. I mean, we went over everything. We just wanted to show you guys it again. 5 for the Garrote, and then 5 for the exposed armor outside. Hey, we're gonna add in this cut into the video. I did the entire thing in one run, and there's so much depth in that video, or in this video. I didn't want to completely redo the entire thing. So one thing I did miss and I want to highlight on is my number 3. Outside of stealth and shadow dance, my 3 is going to be hemo. Now, when I'm in stealth and shadow dance, it's going to be my cheap shot. Now, if you look over to my far right, in very crutch situations, you actually want to have hemo there, because there may be an instance where the enemy is in front of you and you won't actually be able to get an ambush off. So you want to make sure you have hemo in a spot where in a crutch moment, you can use the hemo as your main DPS in the shadow dance. Now, my reason why my 3 is hemo is because I actually use it quite often. There are a lot of moments where not in your dance, you're unable to actually get behind the target to do a backstab. And then also hemo adds a debuff to it. So what I'll do is when it's kind of getting close up to a setup, or when we want to go, I want to hit my hemo. So then when I shadow dance, I actually have the damage buff of hemorrhage in my shadow dance to make my ambushes do that much more damage. And since it's one of those things where my first 4 are usually my DPS binds, or like my main rotation, it's right there where I want it, right there where I need it. And that's why I have it as 3. I have hemo on 6 is because I know it's a little bit of a reach, but it was kind of the only keybind that I had free. And it's also such a micro crutch moment, but it's also where I'm not holding a shift or something like that. So I know in my mind, like, just press 6 if I really need to, and it's going to be right there. So that's why I chose 6 for my hemo. Things that I turned or switched around were my shift 1, 2, 3. Earlier in the video, we talked about shift 1, 2, 3 being my shadow step pre-med cheap shot macro for the Arena 1, 2, 3. It's great for openers and allowing not a rogue to get a global off. I actually shifted that over to alt 1, 2, 3. So my new shift 1, 2, 3 are actually going to be my poisons. Now, it's not as heavily used as the same way as poisons are used in TBC. However, you still want them to be a part of your arsenal. For example, my shift, pardon me, my shift 2 is going to be my anesthetic poison. This is great for when you gouge a warrior, so you can pre-Q the poison, gouge the warrior, he's going to rage, shiv it off, and then your priest can get a fear, or vice versa. The fear gets, he rages, anesthetic, boom, ready to go. Or even against maybe, I don't know, warrior druid, you sap the warrior, he rages out, you shiv, priest is mounted behind the pillar, he jumps right in, full fear, you guys go, sayonara to the druid, you know what I'm saying? So it's really, really good to have the poison swaps just in your toolkit, and also somewhere where you can be snappy with them. So I've lined them up and categorized them in my shift 1, 2, 3. My shift 3 is going to be my wound poison. And as we talked about earlier in the video, my 1 is going to be my crippling poison. And how I have it set up is that the actual macro is the weapon swap and the shiv. So if I want to shiv mind numbing on a healer, all I have to do is press shift 3. Now, if you look at my shift 1, that is going to be my focus shiv. So say, for example, this rock is a player and this rock over here is a healer. Instead of having to tab target, press shift 3 to apply my mind numbing, because he's already my set focus, I just have to press shift 3 for the poison and then for the weapon swap, and then I'll press shift 1 for the actual focus shiv. This just reduces the chance of any sort of error, maybe you tab targeting and whatnot. I still probably will sometimes even do the tab target because, bro, I'm such an OG Andy. I mean, I still use tab target on my saps, bro. Like, it's habit. And it also feels really, the clunkiness kind of feels really skillful in a weird way. But guys, that is it for the keybinds. It was just those micro changes that I wanted to add into this video, so you really do get the most up-to-date version. I just changed this literally 2 days ago, and I recorded this video like 5 days ago. So now we want to move on to the macros. First off, we have our cheap shot or Shadow Step pre-med cheap shot. This is the 1, 2, 3, and it's now on the alt. The reason why I also moved it on the alt is because I can also just move my character, and it's not something that like you need super crazy fast because you're preemptively doing it. You know, you're just waiting for the rogue to open. You're in an awkward safe spot. You're not really going to get caught. It's not something that you need to like Neelio press to get off. It's really, I mean, you can have this damn thing on P, bro, and you can still get it off, you know? So I shifted it over to alt 1, 2, 3. So next up, we have our arena focus 1, 2, 3. These are really, really good because, again, Wrath of the Lich King is really going to push that envelope with you changing your focus targets and being able to really just maximize your control, and you're constantly swapping in the game sometimes with who you want to attack and who you want to CC. So it's really important that you have a comfortable setup and you have these keybinds, because I came from just a right-click focus in TBC, no problem. But now in Wrath, I have to have the focus because it's just so fast paced. Sometimes like you make a quick swap, for example, you know, like rogue opens and then like you need to change to the rogue and then swap over the priest to the focus. And then like maybe you need to swap over to the priest and the rogue needs to get focused like really, really quick so you can focus blind them. I mean, it gets pretty intense with like, you need to be super responsive. So I recommend you finding something really good. And again, my binds for this is shift wheel up, middle click and down. And I absolutely love it. Next one, we have stop attack / cast vanish. I have this as more so of a safety precaution because I don't want my vanishes to break just because of an auto attack queue. So I have this just as like a safe Andy kind of procedure. Next is my use glove. I have this attached to my engineering glove. Some would say this is bad because there are moments where maybe a rogue is running away and you could glove. However, I feel like it would be on such an awkward keybind at this point. There's so many, I'm already stretched thin, that I'd rather just have it queued up with Eviscerate, and most of the time have it up when I'm using my dances. So that's where I have it queued up with my Evis. Next up, we have our focus dismantle and your generic focus kick and focus blind and focus gouge macros. These are literally just household macros for any rogue. You guys should know this. Next up, I have a start attack on my backstab just to make sure that I'm not, you know, having any sort of downtime, maybe losing some auto attack cues just because I have not a start attack on. Because there's sometimes where you swap over to a character and like you're just standing there like, oh, and you're not actually attacking. So I have that start attack there just to prevent any of that. Again, stop attack sap. This is great because this one in particular, there are moments where I didn't have the stop attack and I would go over and I'd actually would auto attack just because I'm in range. So for example, like I would like walk over and then it would just like sap them and I'm like, or it would auto attack. I'm like, oh my God, it broke it. So I would have the stop attack there just again, as same thing with the Vanish, safety precaution. And then stop attack shadow step as well. You don't want to shadow step and then accidentally, auto attack. Say, for example, you want to shadow step out of a sap or something and you just break it. Again, it's super safety precaution. You just don't want to have any sort of issues here because like you're not really losing anything. And usually when you're doing these things, it's for a kick or a setup on a CC. So it's just really just safety precaution. Stop attack sap. This is just my little stop attack sap. So I don't, sometimes I'm so old school. Sometimes I'm literally like running over and I will tab target sap, the focus target without even using set focus. So what I'll do is like, I have to have the stop attack just in case. So I don't auto attack that. And then the last one is going to be my Trickster Trade macro. This Trickster Trade macro is for party member 1. If you are RN3s, just have your main DPS, like your DPS friend, just in the party group number 1 slot, and then you're good to go. You don't really need to change anything. And then these are my poison ones, guys. These are the equip slot, clip slot 17 for the offhand, and then the weapon / cast shiv. And guys, that is going to be it for the little slice edit on the video. It's very simple. I don't really use too many add-ons. I don't think you really do need that many, to be honest. And guys, that's going to be it. That's the deep dive, baby. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys like the keybind setup and the talk. Let me know down in the comments below what keybinds you like to use. If you use any of mine. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Again, we are live on Twitch, streaming Warmane, possibly the beta if we get it. And yeah, see you in the next one. Much love, boys. Peace.